following public service announcement is being brought to you part by the good folks that support the dope. It's told by D2G and Rich Young. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's on with something like a phenomenon. It's food for thought for those starving through Ramadan. Nothing less than the best, that's what you rockin' with. So take notes on this newness, cause you'll be jockin' in. Precious of the bunch, plenty game that we put you on. Fashion, music, we give it to the good's gone. Keeping up with the time, so you'll be in the know. Nothing but exclusives, heads up on who's next to blow. It's only dopeness we give to the masses. And promise guaranteed, ain't no pushing the whackness. So say your theatrics for plays if you've been a hater. Plus the lovely Carly Brown's your facilitator. Lead the water when we bring that fire. Here's the industry biz #1 supplier. Boy, them other stations don't want no smoke. Keep your ears tuned in and support the dope. Yeah, looking at my clock and it's about that time. 7:30 Central when we hit online. And we coming to you live from the go, so tell your people settle in and support the dope. Yeah, looking at my clock and it's about that time. 7:30 Central when we hit online. And we coming to you live from the go, so tell your people settle in and support the dope for sure.
You are now tuned in to Support the Dope Radio, which was designed to give a platform to the best, most talented, and dopest artists in the city of Chicago and equip them with the power to tell their own story in their own words. Today is Tuesday, August 15th, 2017, and this is Season 3, Episode 3. I am your host, your girl CB, otherwise known as CB Radio. And, well, I have a confession. It isn't really Tuesday, and this isn't really live. For the first time, we're recording this show ahead of time because our guest has a residency every week around this time. But I had to make sure that we got her on the show. So the chat feature that I know you guys are having tons of fun with last week isn't out. We won't be there to chat with you. But please still feel free to leave your comments there if you're following us on Spreaker or checking out the show on Spreaker.com. And I will definitely make sure that we check back for those to see if you guys have any questions or comments, especially for our guest, or say hi to me too. I like people to say hi to me too. Makes me feel important. So with that being said, this is a pre-recorded show again, but you are listening to it on Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. So without further ado, let's get down with the get down for tonight's show, if that's okay with y'all. So on tonight's show, we have a very special guest, and I'm just gonna run through her bio for you guys, so you guys can get a better idea of a little bit about her if you don't already. Originally known for her standout guest features for Chance the Rapper and Vic Mensa, Lili K established herself as a knockout solo star with the April 2015 release of her self-produced full-length debut album Ruby via a one-off distribution deal with a local indie label. She's done numerous TV appearances on ABC and Fox, performed at major festivals including Made in America, North Coast Music Festival, and Pitchfork, and has garnered glowing praise from Vibe, Huffington Post, EW, Consequence of Sound, Karen Civil, and many more top-tier music tastemakers. Jay-Z's entertainment streaming service Tidal dubbed Lili as their very first Tidal Rising artist, and the Chicago Reader named her Best Jazz Musician in their annual Best of Chicago Reader's Choice poll in 2015. After taking a step out of the spotlight to record her new album Planet of Flowers with the Lili K Band, Lili has returned with exciting new visuals and projects. In November 2016, Lili released the debut single Magic via Mass Appeal. A song that combats sexism and misogyny, Magic has since been shared and promoted by rape crisis centers, domestic violence centers, and universities. As of February 2017, Lili has a weekly residency with Soho House Chicago and has landed a recurring role as a background vocalist on Season 3 of Fox's hit show Empire. So without further ado, I want to extend a very warm welcome to our guest tonight, Lili K.
Hi.
Hi, Lili.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on the show. I know it's just popular. You know, you have your residency at Soho, which is kind of dope. Make sure you guys, if you guys are familiar with Soho House, it's in the West Loop area. Go check her out on Tuesdays. What time is your residency start?
We do 6 to 9 every Tuesday, and it's actually in the free part of Soho House, so like the public area. You don't have to be a member. It's all ages. It's called the Alice. So come check us out at the Alice at Soho House every Tuesday from 6 to 9.
Dope. So of course you guys can go by there at 6, then listen to Support the Dope at 7:30, and then still go back and catch the last half hour from 8:30 to 9.
Or come and see me next week. I'll be there next week too.
Well, they have to listen to Support the Dope next week too. See, they have to
oh yeah, right. So every week you got to do. Yeah.
But thank God you can listen to Support the Dope Radio on your phone, because you can check that out on the app, and then be at Soho House at the same time. See how that works? We're flexible. We don't mind. Just make sure you're supporting. So great. So you're making history on Support the Dope Radio, because you're the first guest that we have pre-recorded. But
I feel like we're time traveling.
See,
right now.
Right? It's kind of like some Back to the Future type stuff. Ooh.
Right. I like it.
Yeah. So cool. So let's talk, because I have not had you on my blog or on my podcast as of yet. So there are some listeners out there, I'm sure, who don't know much about you yet, and they will after tonight. So let's go back to the very beginning. Let's talk about how you got your start singing. About how old were you and how that happened.
I've kind of always been singing. I can't really remember a time where I wasn't. But it was in grade school when I had, we had a choir teacher that came once a week to work with us. And we did mainly spirituals, like Josh Fitzbattle, Jericho, things like that. We also did some Broadway stuff. Mm-hmm. And I started working with him a lot in maybe third or fourth grade. And he started bringing me to church with him, and I started singing in the choir at Apostolic Church. I was living in San Diego for all of my grade school. And so it was kind of at that time and working with Mr. Ken Anderson that I really started to take singing kind of seriously. As a little kid, I always loved it. But he really kind of got me to believe in myself and realize that I could actually study music and make it more than just a hobby. And so I moved back to my hometown of Milwaukee in sixth grade. And I ended up going to Roosevelt Middle School of the Arts and then Milwaukee High School of the Arts. So it was really music education that gave me the tools and the encouragement and the resources that I needed to, really take music seriously.
Okay. So growing up in your house, were you exposed to a lot of music in your house from your parents? Were you listening to what they were listening to?
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, I lived with my mom. My mom played a lot of Motown. It was mainly Motown, as well as a little bit of classic rock. And of course, I had my love for the Spice Girls and NSYNC and TLC, mm-hmm. and so it was kind of a mixture of really a lot of genres. And because of LimeWire, I was able to discover so much music, a lot of hip hop, the whole neo soul movement. And of course my mom would play everything too, but it was really the whole world of LimeWire that allowed me to go deep down that rabbit hole of just discovering deep cuts. I stole so much music.
Napster and all those other ones. There's a lot of them.
I feel so bad about it now, but it's okay. I remember on LimeWire, one thing I got was this alternate cut of Homecoming by Kanye, and it's the version that John Legend is singing on.
Okay.
And nobody's heard that, and it was never released, but for some reason I got it on LimeWire, and it's amazing.
Right now.
Right. Please try to find it. It's so good. But there was so many unreleased things that we just should not have had access to, but we did.
Yeah, that's why I tell people all the time that I have this classic iPod that I never actually plug up to my computer anymore, because I don't want to update it, because it has so much old stuff on there from my old computer, and a lot of those songs I got at the time that LimeWire and Napster and all those things were really popular, that I can't get anymore. If I sync it to my new computer and it's gone, I can't get it back.
I wish I still had an old iPod. I have an old computer that's it won't turn on at all, but I'm saving it, hoping eventually one day I'll get in there, get the hard drive, and get all the music off of it.
Right. I need to do the same, because it's not actually an old iPod. The iPod's only a few years old, but it is one of their classic models because it had the larger memory. I think it's a 30 gig or something like that. So it still has
the good old days.
Yeah, it doesn't have the touch screen feature on it, but it But the computer it came from is really old. I call it a dinosaur. It's a really old laptop that I had. So I never started up because it takes her forever to start up. So I can't lose that music. So it's just going to stay the way it is probably forever. And
Right.
I'll have to get another iPod for my new stuff. But yeah, so I don't feel bad. We were all on LimeWire and Napster and all those other ones. We did the same. Even if you won't admit it. You guys know that you were on LimeWire.
You did it. You know you did it.
You did it. We won't
unless you're like a little bit younger, then you have no idea what we're talking about,
right?
And that's okay.
Right, and that's okay. Then don't look it up. You need to know. That's between us. It's between me and Lily right now. But yeah. So, what would you say? Kind of. When did you find your style? Like you have a particular, I know, you're considered to be a jazz vocalist, but I think that you have a style that's very unique to you specifically. What kind of influences helped develop the style that you have?
Well, I always, came up kind of singing gospel and Motown and thinking like a good singer was somebody who sounded like Aretha Franklin because she was like the end all be all of amazing singers, And then when I got to my middle school, my vocal teacher, Lili Lacoste, heard me sing and was like, oh, you have to listen to jazz. Like your view of a jazz voice, listen to this. And so I started listening to Ella Fitzgerald, and my voice kind of like made so much more sense to me at that point. And I started to really understand that you didn't have to have like this one type of voice to be considered a good singer in my mind. You're young, you don't really know anything.
Right. Well, thank God for her, right?
So,
what a good ear.
Right, she's amazing, and I'm still good friends with her to this day, as well as my high school voice teacher. So yeah, I guess after I started listening to a lot of jazz, as well as the whole like neo soul movement, I really think artists like Jill Scott and Lauryn Hill and Indy Ari and D'Angelo have just as much of an influence on me as jazz does, as well as a lot of like the classic Motown that I listen to, or even classic rock artists like Steely Dan. A lot of genres have kind of all been thrown into me my whole life, and so I think my style is kind of just a culmination of all those things that are just naturally a part of me.
Now, your debut album was released in 2015, called Ruby, right?
Yes.
How long do you think it took you to get to that point where you felt like it's time? Like now it's time for me to go ahead and put a body of work together and put it out there for, public consumption. Like, and I can actually call this my debut. Like, this is my welcome, to the world. Here I am. I'm coming out.
Right. So the first album I wrote was in actually like 2010. And I wrote it with Peter Cottontail. And it was all live instrumentation. We recorded it ourselves. It was in the very back of this music school that's on like 87th and State in Chicago. And we would go in there like after hours. They gave us a key and we could use the studio like from midnight to like 6 a.m.
Nice.
So we recorded a whole album, and it was great, for what it was, but we didn't know how we were recording. It wasn't really done properly. So we never released it. And then Peter and I kept working together. We had 3 EPs that we put out over the years. And, through doing EPs, it was mainly him producing and me doing all the vocals. And I started to really miss live instrumentation, because I had come from a jazz background or a church background where there was always, musicians and that live instrumentation sound. And I was really, really missing it. So when Peter kind of started to get more busy working with Chance, I decided to produce myself and pull musicians that I knew and just record an album. I just wanted to get back to my roots, and that's kind of what Ruby was. It was like a coming of age, coming into myself, like taking the reins of my own career and just doing it. And, I hadn't produced before. I hadn't done an album by myself before, but luckily I had a great band that kind of came together through that process of recording, who's still my band. We have just one band member is different now, but it was time. I think I was 22 when I recorded Ruby, and it was such an awesome learning experience. The new album that we're working on now is like so much better. And I think it's just because of you go through, you know, you're doing it yourself and you don't have anyone guiding you or giving you direction. You're just kind of figuring it out. So that's a lot of what Ruby was for me, was just me figuring it out, getting rid of a lot of songs that I had been sitting on for years. I'm like, okay, I need to put this song out. I can't sit on this song